Hello and welcome back to Gary's Garage, and this week we are back on the Anglia checking out the results of the Chargecooler modifications. So I'm back on the Anglia again. I know it's been quite a few weeks since any Anglia videos, but I have been very busy with getting the ramp and my Legnum sorted, and as you'll see, the rotisserie, and also fixing the Shogun, which was just terrible whilst towing. So hopefully that is now better. As of the moment of recording this, I have not yet really tested the Shogun, so fingers crossed that's all okay. But we are back on the Anglia, and as I left it, I had just put the Chargecooler system back in place, and it's been sat here for a few weeks, and I literally have not touched it at all. So what I need to do is just have a quick check of the coolant level and give it a fire up and make sure that everything is running. So let's get straight into that. So we're about to fire it up, and the one thing that I am a little bit concerned about is obviously the blow-off valve. This does come with another spring, and here it is with one pre-installed. I don't know whether the one that's in there is going to be good enough, whether it's going to be too strong or not strong enough. So what we want to see, hopefully, is that staying nice and closed at idle and at gentle revs, and then when we give it some boost and come off the throttle, we want that to open and let out all the excess air. So let's go and fire the car up and see what we get there. Okay, so that is just popped straight open on idle, so that is definitely, that spring's not strong enough. Okay, so as soon as we turned the engine on, the vacuum that was being drawn just immediately sucked that valve open, which is not what we want. We want that valve to be nice and closed at, especially at idle, and that's where the engine is creating most vacuum. So I'm going to have to whip it off and pull it apart, and I will compare the spring that's in it with this one. So I believe that you can install one or the other, or even both. And by adding more springs and stronger springs, it increases the pressure differential at which it will open. So it's now going to be about finding the best match for that. So the best setting where it's nice and closed at idle and normal driving, but when I go off throttle, when I've been building up boost, it still opens. I don't want it closed all the time, because otherwise it would have been pointless going to the effort of putting it there. Oh, and just one quick point that somebody flagged up on my previous video as a comment, so thank you very much for thinking about this. I didn't show, after I drilled out for the blow-off valve, clearing out all the swarf that had been created when drilling. Don't worry, I did give it a good clean out, blow through with the air gun both ways, made sure that there was no swarf in there, so that definitely should not have gone through to the engine. So thank you very much for your concern, but yes, I didn't show it in the video, but it was done. But as I said, thank you very much for your concern, and it's great to see people taking an interest and trying to make sure that I don't kill this engine. So anyway, on to whipping this off and checking out the springs. Okay, I don't know how well this is going to show, hopefully well enough. This is the one that's just come out, much thinner and just a little bit, that's really not much pressure at all. This one is the other one, and applying the same amount of pressure, that doesn't move as much. It needs a lot more pressure to move it. So I'm going to try swapping in this slightly thicker one, and if that's not good enough, then I can always maybe, no, I can't. This obviously isn't the design where you can double them up. I don't think that would work. So yeah, let's go for the thicker, stiffer one, and we'll see what that does. So if you've not seen the insides of one of these before, we have a piston there with a nice diaphragm, and obviously that would never go that far. So the spring goes between the back and this piston, and that stops it, that holds it in the closed position. You have your intake air coming in against this side here, which is trying to push that like that, which is pushing it against the spring. You also have, coming from the top onto the back side here, you have the same amount of boost pressure. So under normal running, you have boost pressure on the top, boost pressure here, and you also have the spring all acting to hold it closed. When you come off throttle, you have boost pressure pushing this way, pushing against the spring, but then but you don't have the boost pressure on this side. You now probably have a vacuum on this side, which helps to pull it open. So that's the principle about how it works. And so yeah, I'll stick the stiffer spring in, pull it back together, and we'll give it a try and see if it stays closed at idle, and see if it opens up when we go off throttle after giving it some boost. Okay, attempt number 2. Okay, it's not opening at all. So the next thing I want to try to sort out is the fact that the bonnet here is rubbing on the bulkhead and rubbing away the paint. That has only really been a problem since I took out this centre lock, which was holding the bonnet away from here. But now that I've put the brake reservoirs there, obviously there's nothing for that to clip onto now. So the bonnet's just sitting down a bit flatter, and unfortunately it's rubbing here, as you can see from the paint that has rubbed off just here, and the same on the other side. So what I've got from the Owners Club is a new channel and rubber that should go across there, something like that, and I'm hoping that that will allow me to put the bonnet down. It will sit on this rubber, and that will keep it up, protect it from rubbing against the bulkhead, and will also have the benefit that it should catch any rain that runs off the screen and should divert it down to the sides rather than coming down the middle. So it should come down the sides, run down here into the drip channel and down to the floor rather than down the middle. So that will be the next task, will be to get this in fitted the right way round, and that will probably be riveted on to start with until I've confirmed the position, and then I might weld it on later. But that's what I need to do next.
Oh my baby, got me staring at you. So I'm crazy. Won't you bend that back for me? We won't stop. Got your feet both locked. You get to fly with me. I can take you down for a ride. I take you around my life.
So that's now the gap down there, really, really nice. I can just about kind of get the edge of my finger in all the way round, and that also is holding that bonnet really nice and secure. I was getting some rattling and some squeaking, I think, from sort of these edges touching, so I'm really happy with that. So on to the next thing now. Okay, so we're looking up under the car at the moment, and this is the sump, and just up here where my finger is touching, that is the oil pressure switch. So that just has a single wire coming onto it, and it grounds out to the engine block, and when the oil pressure is low, that makes connectivity, and that turns the light on the dash. So we need to whip that off and replace it with the pressure sensor instead. So I've put some grey goo on there, some proper gasket sealer that's oil compatible. So let's get that screwed in and make sure to not do it up too tight, because this is a tapered thread and I do not want to be cracking the housing on the engine block. A friend has done that on their VR4 and it was not fun. That doesn't feel right. That does not feel right. I could have sworn it was NPT. It's definitely a tapered thread. Okay, back to the drawing board. Why are things never easy? So I did a load of searching before ordering this sensor, and I came to the conclusion that the thread on the engine was 1/8 NPT from lots of things that I found. It's not. It is not. It is 1/8 BSP, which is almost exactly like NPT, but subtly different because, you know, standards. So the Haltech adapter that I got with the sensor, which is the M10 to 1/8 NPT, is wrong, so that can go in the bin. And instead I have now ordered a M10 to 1/8 BSP adapter, which should be arriving in a few days. So I now have a open hole on the front of the engine, unless of course I screw back in the switch, which, thinking about it right now, might be sensible just in case I power the car up accidentally. Be better to not throw oil everywhere. So yeah, I'm going to very quickly whiz this back in, and then what I'm going to do is get the wiring sorted in preparation for getting the sensor in. So that needs, as it's a more complex sensor, it needs 5 volts, sensor ground, and then 2 signals. So I have 1 wire already running down there, so I need to add 3 extra wires, which I can grab 2 of at least from the top of the engine, which are the sensor, 5 volt and ground, and I'm going to have to run an extra wire all the way through the loom and across to the ECU. So let's get into that. And where does the wiring run? Right underneath all of the plenum and the charge cooler, which I've only just managed to get back into place. So another really simple job that's going to take a lot longer because of the complications I'm adding. But there we go. I am obviously making this car more and more complex as time goes on, and this is just the battles I have to have. So off with the charge cooler and the inlet manifold so that I can get to this connector plug over here and add in a couple of extra wires to this. Well, 1 extra wire, and pick up the 5 volt and ground as well. So a couple of days have passed and I have received through another little adapter. This is the original MPT one that I had. The BSP one is now installed in the car, and that's been sat now for 24 hours or so to allow the sealant to go off. So what I'm going to do now is get the laptop hooked up and try to crank over the engine and see if we get some oil pressure, and hopefully no leaks just on cranking. And if all good, we can fire up the car and see what the oil pressure is doing as the car warms up. Oh, and the temperature as well, of course. Okay, so we build some oil pressure, which is pretty good, I think. Let's see what happens when we fire it up. So I've been pretty busy with stuff around the house and sorting out my dad's stuff and up at the barn. And so I've been kind of just trying to grab the odd 10-15 minutes here and there to just progress the Anglia on just a little bit and a little bit at a time. Because, as I mentioned, I think I have booked myself on a track day. And that is in just a couple of days. And the car is now pretty much ready to go, I hope. So I shall be loading it onto the trailer shortly and heading off to that. There's a couple of things I've done. So I have got myself and installed a fire extinguisher. So I've tucked that down in front of the driver's seat, nice and easy to grab hold of, should the worst happen. And I've been kind of risking it, really running around for so long without one, given all the work that I've done to the car. Went out for a bit of a drive and with a friend who popped up to help out with some other things the other day, and he managed to catch a very short video which you may have seen me share around on the internet, but here it is in case you haven't seen it.
Okay, probably want to hold on to this.
Yeah.
Ready? Yeah, go for it. Fucking hell.
And that was with the elbow on the throttle body. Well, popped off slightly. The Jubilee clip just wasn't quite done up enough, so that just popped off slightly and it let out some of the boost. Still about half a bar, 0.6 of a bar of boost going into the engine, and pretty reasonable performance, I think, especially starting from a slightly gravelly junction. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And once it's, and if the elbow stays on, then it should hopefully perform quite nicely. And as well with that, getting the car out to drive it, I really don't actually like the sound of the blow-off valve that I put on there, that big 50mm one with the with part throttle. So I have actually spent a bit of time on the lathe, again just kind of the odd 10 minutes here and there, and I have made myself up a adapter to put my old blow-off valve back in the car, and so I will take that with me to the track, and I might install this for one of the sessions and see what difference it makes to the noise and any performance gains or losses from having a blow-off valve that's got a 20mm hole in it rather than a 50mm hole. So we shall see there. And that, I think, is probably going to be about it for this episode. As I said, I need to get the car loaded up and I need to get it onto the trailer. I need to get all my tools ready so that I've got a collection of stuff ready to go. And obviously I need to edit this video to get up to you, so you'll be watching this. If you're a patron, you'll be watching this hopefully the night before I go, and if you are not a patron, then you'll be seeing this after I have completed the track day, and hopefully the car will still be all in one piece, nothing catastrophic failures with engine or drivetrain or me running out of talent and crashing it. Yeah, hopefully not. So anyway, thank you very much for watching what is probably a bit of a bitty episode here and there. You know, I've done some stuff, but maybe not filmed quite as much as I would usually. But it's the time of just snatching those 10 minutes here and there to get stuff done. And it takes longer to set up the camera and get the microphone on and sort out angles and lighting and all that than it is to just do the job. So hope you'll accept my apologies for possibly skipping over some stuff. But anyway, enough waffling on. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time, where I will give you the feedback and footage from the track day. So see you next time. Bye.